Welcome back to Rare Coin Legacy, the home of unbelievable discoveries, hidden treasures, and jaw-dropping stories hiding in everyday pocket change. And today you're about to hear one of the most shocking and fascinating coin stories ever told, because we are diving deep into how a simple 1997 1-cent coin, something millions of people once ignored, spent, or tossed into jars without a second thought, has shocked collectors and stunned the numismatic world by reaching an unbelievable value of up to $8 million, a figure that sounds impossible until you understand the extraordinary chain of errors, mint mistakes, rare production circumstances, and collector demand that can transform a normal copper-plated zinc penny into a life-changing fortune. And as we begin this journey, it's important to understand that coin values are not created by age alone or even rarity alone, but by a perfect storm of mistakes, timing, survival, condition, and the human obsession with flaws that should never exist, and the 1997 1-cent coin sits right at the center of this storm. Produced during a period when the United States Mint was under intense pressure to meet massive circulation demands, pushing equipment, workers, and quality control systems to their limits, which is often when the most dramatic and valuable errors are born. And while millions of 1997 pennies were struck across multiple mint facilities, only a microscopic fraction escaped with catastrophic mistakes that should have been caught, destroyed, or corrected long before entering circulation. And those mistakes are exactly what collectors hunt for with relentless passion, because they represent moments where the minting process broke down in spectacular fashion, creating coins that are not just currency, but historical accidents frozen in metal. And one of the most powerful value drivers behind the $8 million valuation is the existence of extreme die errors, particularly double die obverse and reverse varieties that go far beyond normal machine doubling, where entire design elements such as Lincoln's profile, inscriptions, and date appear duplicated with dramatic separation visible to the naked eye. Not subtle shifts requiring magnification, but bold, unmistakable doubling that screams rarity. And these dramatic double dies are believed to originate from misaligned hubbing processes where dies received multiple impressions at slightly different angles, locking those mistakes permanently into every coin struck by that die until it was replaced. And when such dies escaped detection, they created a tiny population of coins that now sit at the very top of collector wish lists, especially when combined with pristine condition, because condition is everything in numismatics, and a flawless example of an already rare error can multiply value exponentially. And then there are off-metal strikes, a category that fuels some of the most expensive penny sales in history, where a 1997 1-cent was accidentally struck on the wrong planchet, such as a dime, foreign coin blank, or experimental metal strip, resulting in a coin that looks instantly wrong in weight, color, thickness, and sound. And these off-metal strikes are among the most dramatic mint errors because they prove that multiple failures occurred simultaneously. The wrong blank entered the press, quality control missed it, and the coin escaped into circulation. And when these errors are verified and authenticated, especially for a modern date like 1997, their value can soar into seven figures due to their shock factor and extreme rarity. And even more incredible are transitional errors tied to metal composition, because the 1997 penny was officially struck on copper-plated zinc. Yet there are rumors, reports, and a handful of authenticated cases suggesting the existence of experimental or leftover bronze planchets being struck accidentally during this era, resulting in pennies with incorrect weight and metal content that immediately stand out to experts. And when metallurgical testing confirms an anomaly, collectors recognize that they are holding a piece of mint history that was never meant to exist. And this is where valuations can explode, especially when combined with another error such as a double die or off-center strike, because stacking errors multiply desirability rather than simply adding to it. And speaking of off-center strikes, the 1997 1-cent has produced some of the most dramatic misalignments ever documented, with designs missing up to 50% or more, yet still retaining full dates and mint marks, which is critical because a missing date kills value. But a visible date on an extreme off-center strike turns a mistake into a masterpiece, and collectors crave these coins because they visually demonstrate the chaos of the minting process, showing how far things can go wrong while still producing a legally issued coin. And then there are broad strikes, where the collar fails and the coin expands outward like a pancake, creating a stretched, distorted design that looks unlike anything else in circulation. And while minor broad strikes are relatively common, extreme examples from 1997 with massive diameter expansion and weak rims become premium collectibles, especially when preserved in high grade. And we cannot ignore the power of wrong reverse or mule errors, where mismatched dies create impossible combinations, such as a 1997 obverse paired with a reverse from a different year or design type, something that should never occur under normal production protocols. And when such coins surface, they immediately spark intense debate, research, and eventually record-breaking auction results once verified. Because mule errors represent a fundamental breakdown in die pairing procedures, and the fewer known examples, the higher the value climbs, sometimes reaching levels that seem unreal for a penny, yet are fully justified by rarity and demand. And another major contributor to the $8 million legend is the presence of major strike-through errors involving foreign objects, grease, fabric, metal shards, or even wire becoming trapped between the die and planchet during striking, leaving dramatic voids, distortions, or missing design elements. And while minor strike-throughs are common, extreme examples that obscure large portions of the coin while leaving key identifiers intact become highly collectible, especially when the object responsible can be identified or inferred, turning the coin into a forensic artifact of the minting floor. And then there are rotated die errors, where the obverse and reverse are misaligned by extreme degrees, sometimes approaching 180 degrees, creating coins that look twisted and unnatural. And while rotation alone may not reach million-dollar levels, when combined with other rare errors and flawless condition, it becomes part of a perfect storm that pushes valuations into uncharted territory. And all of this is amplified by the psychology of collectors, because modern-era error coins like the 1997 1-cent challenge the assumption that only old coins can be valuable, proving that rarity is created at the moment of minting, not over centuries. And this realization has driven explosive demand as more people begin checking their change, searching rolls, and scanning inherited collections for overlooked treasures. And the role of grading and authentication cannot be overstated, because a raw coin, no matter how spectacular, cannot reach maximum value without professional verification. And when a 1997 penny is encapsulated with a top-grade and certified error designation, it gains legitimacy, confidence, and market trust, which attracts elite collectors and investors willing to pay astronomical sums for a guaranteed rarity. And the $8 million figure often cited represents the theoretical peak value for the most perfect storm scenario, an ultra-dramatic error, possibly unique or nearly unique, in pristine condition, with full documentation, provenance, and intense bidding competition. And history shows that such scenarios are not fantasy, as coin auctions have repeatedly shattered expectations when the right coin meets the right moment. And another fascinating layer is the survival rate, because many error coins are unknowingly destroyed, spent, or damaged, meaning that the true population is often far smaller than initially estimated. And as years pass, surviving examples become even rarer, driving prices higher as collectors compete for diminishing supply. And we must also consider the cultural impact of viral stories, because when news spreads about a penny selling for millions, it ignites public interest, floods the market with new collectors, and increases demand for similar coins, even if only a handful truly deserve such prices. And this phenomenon alone can elevate values across the board, particularly for high-profile dates like 1997, which people recognize and remember, making them emotionally invested in the hunt. And the idea that something so ordinary could be extraordinary fuels a treasure-hunting mindset that keeps demand alive. And condition again plays a critical role, because even the rarest error loses power if it is worn, damaged, or corroded, while a near-perfect example can dominate headlines and auction rooms. And this is why some collectors spend decades searching for the cleanest possible error coin, knowing that perfection is the multiplier that transforms rarity into legend. And the minting environment of the late 1990s adds further intrigue. As production speeds increased, automation expanded, and transitional processes created opportunities for unusual mistakes, especially during die changes,